Hello everyone and welcome back to this brand new episode. I hope that you all did experience a joyful and happy Christmas 2019 with your dears, because there won't be any Christmas atmosphere here in Hearts of Iron 4. It's the year 1939 and things are about to get hotter in Europe, where Germany has successfully expanded its territory by annexing Austria and half of Czechoslovakia, and drew Italy and Hungary within the Axis net. German troops slowly begun their redeployment along the Polish border, and secret talks between Berlin and Rome confirmed German support for the Italian annexation of Albania. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea of what is really going on in Europe. I was just trying to imagine Mussolini and Hitler meeting somewhere at the border discussing how to divide Europe between the two. Back to our Far Eastern War. At the end of 1938, Chinese troops successfully pushed back the Japanese aggressors and advanced on a narrow front in the northern sector, following a path parallel to the Mongolian border. Field Marshal Tier 92's plan was to conduct a series of small encirclements to progressively reduce the enemy's strength and shift the balance of power towards the Chinese alliance. Several obstacles, however, prevented his plan's realization. First and foremost, the laziness and lack of initiative of the army and divisional commanders. Those bunch of retarded generals knew that their forces were outnumbering the enemy and enjoyed an overwhelming concentration of fire, but did not move one bloody finger to sign any attack order. Field Marshal Tier 92, from the height of its position, and having a more global view of the whole picture, was forced to overrun his army commanders and individually direct their divisions against the weakest spots of the enemy defensive line. The second reason appears to be a consequence of the first one. Besides crippling the already thin supply lines, the amassment of so many assault divisions and their concentration along determined area of the front line further contributed in ruining and damaging the poor local infrastructures. In this regard, Field Marshal Tier 92's attack doctrine proved to be particularly counterproductive. Orchestrating the battles from an underground concrete bunker, his order was to unleash a short, but massively intense artillery barrage over the Japanese positions, before letting the infantry storming them with hand grenades, rifles, and bayonets. While always successful, the artillery bombardment and the inevitable following fight between the hostile rearguard and the advancing Chinese soldiers rendered the scarce infrastructures less and less passable. This meant that only a handful of divisions at the time, usually ranging from 2 to 5, could actually advance and secure the ground, but by doing so, they immediately found themselves exposed to the enemy counterattacks. It is worth mentioning one episode which occurred on November 24, 1937, when 15 assault divisions erupted from the Zangbi salient and headed north, in the direction of Dulan and Zelinhut. As only the 2nd Assault Division had sufficient horses and lorries to guarantee a slightly faster marching speed, it was given the highest priority along the few accessible roads. As soon as the division set in motion, however, its organization dropped to the minimum, as each infantry battalion engaged a kind of race against the others to reach the outskirts and surroundings of Dowlin. As the first platoons made their way in the urban environment at noon of November 24th, they were attacked at once by the remnants of 2 Japanese infantry divisions. Fighting progressed throughout the whole afternoon and evolved into a violent street-to-street battle, which the exhausted Chinese troops simply could not withstand for long. At around 8 o'clock in the evening, the survivors of the 2nd Assault Divisions were routed from Dowlin, and by midnight the city was once again in Japanese hands. This back and forth continued throughout the winter of 1937-38, and the Chinese offensive along the Mongolian border proceeded at a much slower pace than planned due to these unexpected Japanese counterattacks. The third and last reason of why Field Marshal Tier 92's plan of serial encirclements failed was the lack of any exploitation reserve with which to conduct those encirclement operations. Despite achieving victory after victory during this first period of the war, Chinese troops only managed to surround 1 cavalry and 1 infantry division in December 1937, against the 18 planned by Field Marshal Tier 92. It was only in spring 1938 that the first successful encirclement was carried out in the Chita province, leading to the entrapment and annihilation of 9 infantry, 1 militia and 2 garrison divisions. To make things even worse, Japanese soldiers refused to surrender and held on fighting for more than a week. This further frustrated Field Marshal Tier 92's plan for a quick and easy encirclement campaign. It should therefore not surprise too much then why from June to December 1938 the national research efforts were directed towards studies aimed at improving construction and maintenance of roads and railways, and why the civil engineers were mobilized to improve the infrastructures between Beijing and Chengdu. When the logistical situation showed slight signs of improvement, in December 1938 Chiang Kai-shek authorized the redeployment of General Mahangban's Second Army, reinforced with 10 cavalry, 1 infantry and 4 assault divisions in the Chengdu region, and ordered an all-out offensive to prepare the ground for future operations. By early 1939, the front line had the shape of a deep bulge, plunged between the Bohai Sea and the northern pincer of the 2nd, 6th, and 7th Chinese armies. It was during the cold morning of January 7th, when Chiang Kai-shek was discussing with Field Marshal Tia-92 in his underground bunker, surrounded by regularly Lend-Lease provided English tea and candles, that the latter had a brilliant idea: perform a gigantic encirclement to destroy the bulk of the Japanese army stationed much further to the west. Tia-92 sketched his plan on a huge map of northeastern China and Korea, and without any discussion Chiang Kai-shek approved it. The idea was to take control of the coastal city of Kinhuangdao, which represented an important logistical hub for the Japanese, and conduct a rapid sweep southwards with the cavalry divisions of Hangban's Second Army, stationed in the northern arm of the bulge. Tia-92's impatience however led to an immediate disaster. On January 10th, 7 assault divisions of General Hu Zanen's 9th Army emerged from their fortified positions around Xianjin and stormed the enemy lines at Tangshan. As the assault was rushed without a proper reconnaissance, the attackers failed to identify a series of strongholds, camouflaged pillboxes and machine-gun nests which provided a significant cover for the defenders. The Japanese only had the 4th Cavalry and 16th Infantry Divisions holding the line, but as the battle carried on, they brought 2 additional garrison units. Faced with the grim reality, after 6 days of endless and fruitless fighting, Field Marshal Tia-92 called off the attack. The second offensive begun on February 18th, and it saw the participation of 5 additional assault divisions belonging to General Zhang Zuliang's First Army. The enormous firepower unleashed on the 3 Japanese divisions proved to be too much for them, and after roughly 2 days of vicious battle, the Chinese advanced victorious in the city of Yushan. As the enemy did not have any reserve to cork the breakthrough, Zuliang's and Zanen's soldiers marched unopposed towards Changli, thereby cutting off the 5 Japanese divisions still holding on in Tangshan, before swinging to the northeast and capturing the coastal city of Kinhuangdao. Besides a few local Japanese counterattacks, the front line became quiet until midsummer, even though in the skies above the trenches and fields Japanese and Chinese pilots engaged every day in a series of mortal duels to gain air supremacy over the battlefields. In the early morning of July 3rd, Hangban's cavalry divisions launched a coordinated attack against the Japanese entrenched around Tangliao, and in a matter of hours they pierced the enemy defenses in several places and forced the survivors into a hasty retreat. The Japanese hurriedly retreated across the Zilio River and tried to dig within the surrounding of Yamaote, but failed to do so under the pressure of the enemy cavalry. The Japanese quickly assembled forces for a counterattack further north, but their efforts were frustrated by the immediate intervention of 7 Chinese divisions of the 6th and 7th Armies. On July 10th, within a matter of 1 week, the bold cavalry dash ordered by Field Marshal Tia-92 reached the Liaodong Bay at Doha. The bulk of the Japanese and Manchukuo army, with approximately more than 60 divisions, of which 3 of them armored, was cut off from every mean of retreat and supply. On July 15th, the giant battle of annihilation begun with a push operated by General Zuliang's First Army from the south, General Fuzoi's 7th Army from the southwest, General Zanen's 9th Army from the west and General Gu Zhutang's 8th Army from the northwest. As the catastrophe was looming ahead, Japanese authorities proposed an armistice on July 24th, which was promptly rejected by Chiang Kai-shek and Field Marshal Tia-92. Their message was loud and clear: there would have been no peace until the last Japanese soldier was kicked out of the Far Eastern Asian land. On July 30th, this goal seemed within reach as the last pocket of resistance was wiped out in the Jianchang suburbs. Chiang Kai-shek's armies were however exhausted from the past weeks of fighting and in dire need of reorganization. Before launching the last phase of the offensive, and the local infrastructures required several weeks of work to be repaired. Nevertheless, By September 17th, Chinese forces could deploy 68 divisions against 25 combined between Japan and Manchukuo. That day the last phase of the offensive begun. And once again Japanese resistance proved particularly fierce, despite the defenders' lack of any air support nor supremacy in the skies. Still, within 2 days of combat, the dam burst open and the Chinese divisions penetrated deeply into the enemy territory and knocked Manchukuo out of the war on October 12th. With the final victory now at hand, Field Marshal Tier-92s redirected most of Chiang Kai-shek's armies along the border with Communist China, while to General Zuliang's First Army was given the honor to liberate Korea, a mistake that it would cost Tier-92 a swift victory against Japan. Thank you all guys for watching, and stay tuned as things will get hot in the following episode.